So I picked up this 9-foot mal from a local tip shop for 30 bucks. As you can see, it's pretty rough, needs a lot of work. Originally I wasn't going to get it, it just needed too much work. But it's actually a really good brand. It's from one of our local shapers, Steve O'Donnell. So I thought, school holidays, I'll give it a go. As you can see over on this side, it's full of some really old dirty wax, so it's going to need a really good clean. So we'll put it out in the sun and try to melt that wax off it, then really assess to see exactly what we need to do to it. I'll get my son Elijah to help me. So for the dings, we'll probably use expanding foam, I think, particularly on the bigger dings, just to fill the board. And obviously the Q-cell resin mix as well. And then we're going to fiberglass, obviously. But ultimately, what I want to do once it's fixed, I want to repaint it. So I'm going to use a high quality spray paint. I'm probably going to try to keep these beautiful patterns here, and I'm going to cover up the stringer line and really bring it back to life. So that's our goal for the next 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes.
It's really good.
Yeah, I know. Excellent, good. Looking better already. Careful, if there's any big cracks, try not to get too much water on it, because I don't want the water to go into the foam. Unfortunately, we had a camera malfunction when we were doing the assessment on the board and having a look at exactly what needs to be done. But you can tell by Elijah cutting the board exactly the amount of damage that needs to be repaired. Okay, so yesterday Elijah started to cut some of the fiberglass off the board, and I've discovered that somebody's done a repair on the board previously, and what they've done, and actually put stacks of resin in there, so they probably just filled it with resin. All this white section over here, I'm not going to be able to get rid of all of the resin out of there, but anyway, I'm just going to do the best I can and get rid of that resin out of there. Yeah, even over here you can see it, there's resin, they've just used resin in there, so that's foam there, but that's hard there. So anyway, we'll do the best we can with what we've got. So I'm just going to use this drill here with this this sanding bit on the drill, just to go on the edges, try to get the edges sanded flush, and try to get rid of some of this this resin off here as well. So I'm just going to use this this Dremel sanding bit here to get the rest of the resin off these repairs here that they've just put resin on. So I'm just finding it hard to get it off with the sander, so I'll use this one to really rip in there. Okay, so the board is pretty much ready now to be filled. I've decided what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to use the expanding foam, and then I'll use the Q-cell resin mix over the top of it. So I'm just going to I'll probably use the expanding foam just sort of on the edge here, and obviously in these little divots in here, and fill it as much as I can with the foam. Down here obviously on this edge will be perfect for it, and then maybe just a little bit in there. And then once that sets tomorrow, I'll sand that down as flat as I can, use the Q-cell resin mix over the top to fill the holes, and then the following day we can then glass it. I prefer to use as much of the foam as I can. It's pretty easy to use and it's inexpensive as well. It's 2-part expanding foam, so it's got to be 50-50, right?
Yeah.
50% that, 50% that. Okay, we have to stir it for about 10 seconds, right? Now, then what we're going to do, we'll probably first do this bit. There's that one as well, see that in there? So we want to do that hollow in there. But what I'm thinking, on the second round, I want to try just to put some on here and use that to spread it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if it'll work, but we'll try it, okay? Second round. But what I do is I use the cup, and so I will pour some of this first.
Not much left.
Well, there is. Okay, so I usually then mark on the cup, and then I go about halfway. Okay, so we're going to take that bit to about there. You reckon?
A little bit.
A little bit higher. Okay.
That's nice.
About there.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me the stirrer. Okay, so here's the trick. The trick is you don't want to leave too much time. I'm going to give it to you. Get ready.
And I just pour it.
And you're going to pour it in there. That's it. And then.
That's good.
All right. Yep. Let's go. So particularly get those edges. Particularly the holes. I need it in the holes. Right. Let's put a bit more in this hole. That's it. Thank you.
Tea.
Excellent. Yep.
That's fine.
See how we go with this stuff. Make sure it's in the edges. Yeah, is that enough? Good. That's good. That'll do.
Okay.
Actually, the toxins are a bit tough on the breathing. Okay, so it's the morning after we put in the expanding foam. Looks like it's come up quite well. As you can see, it's nice and firm. It's quite hard. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to use the blade. We're going to cut some of this off, and then we're going to sand it, obviously, and try to sand it down to shape. And then we're going to mix the Q-cell resin mix. Going to put that over the top of the foam and just press it in, and that'll create a nice firm smooth surface, so we can then put the fiberglass down hopefully later this afternoon. That's what I'd like to get done today. So last night I had to put a little bit of extra filler on this edge here, which I actually missed. Okay, so for our fiberglass, what we're going to do is we're going to use a piece of 6-ounce fiberglass over the repair, directly over the repair, and then we're just going to use a larger piece of 4-ounce over the top for the whole area. Because it's a mal, it's obviously typically mals use more fiberglass than shortboards, so if it had been a shortboard we probably would have used a small piece of 4-ounce covered by probably a 2-ounce wider. So that's what we're going to do on this mal. Just a tip, I recently invested in a really good pair of scissors. I believe these are a serrated scissor, but they're a really good quality pair of scissors. I think they cost me, I don't know, I can't remember, but it might have been over $100, but it makes such a difference when you're cutting fiberglass. When you have a cheap pair of scissors, you just can't get a really good clean cut on fiberglass. So you can do it, you can get away with it, but it makes life so much easier with a really good sharp pair of scissors. While I'm doing it here, I'm just using a texture to outline the repair. However, because I'm going to paint the board, I can do it like this. Sometimes the texture can actually mark the board, so you have to be very careful. And then what you do is you just cut on the inside of the black line, otherwise you'll leave a texture mark. So that's going to be our 6 ounce. I probably should have gone a little bit wider on that, but anyway. And then for our 4 ounce, it's going to go over the whole area. So I like to just mark it on the tape and then cut on the inside. Alright, so that's going to sit over the top like that, over the whole area like that, so that'll just strengthen the whole area. And then what we can do, once it's laid, we can then scuff the edges. It gives us plenty of space to do that. I like to just get a couple of rocks and just put a rock on there just so the wind doesn't blow it away while I do the other ones. Just another tip, if you leave your paintbrush in a small jar with acetone, so you put a bit of acetone in it, you can reuse your brush. It won't harden. Otherwise, you've just got to throw the brush away and just keep using new brushes. You can actually reuse a brush many times if you keep it in acetone. Okay, so it's been about an hour since I put the first coat of resin on, the laminating resin on. So I've got to put the sanding resin on the repairs as a second coat, but I figured what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do the hot coat on the other side of the board, and then I'm just going to put some of the leftover resin. I've got to do a little resin dam here on the toe of the board, so I'm just going to tape this up, get this ready. Okay, so it's the next morning. The resin pool here looks pretty good, so I'm just going to sand that today, just get that back to the shape of the end of the board there. That should be good. And I'm going to sand our fiberglass. Yep, so mainly with the when we sand this fiberglass, the main goal is to feather these edges here. So we're going to feather those edges, try to blend the fiberglass that we planted into the board, and then just a very small sand over the fiberglass, because we want to keep most of that fiberglass for the strength. We don't want to sand it off. This one here is a little bit rougher. That's because I reused the same cup when I was mixing the resin, and there was a few little lumps in it, but that's all right. So we'll work on that, and over here as well. And then once we've done that, the wax off the front, and then we're going to sand the whole board and get it, and then prep it for painting with tape. So we're going to try to do that today, and then do the painting on Monday, the spray paint. So we're covering up the stringer line here. We're covering up this beautiful patterns here and these nice markings here. So that's the plan. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep this O'Donnell because it's too complicated to cover it up, and it just wouldn't look good in the background once the board's painted. Okay, so we're just going to start our paint. I'm just going to be doing the red just here on this part here, then flipping the board over and then just doing the red on the other side. I'm just going to be using this really good high quality spray paint, the Molito brand, which a lot of the board repairers use on surfboards because it's very strong. So I've used it a couple of times now, and compared to just the local hardware brand, this is by far a lot stronger. Okay, so here's our board after our first coat of red paint on here. I've been doing some thinking, and what I've decided I'm actually going to do, I'm actually going to take all this tape off, including the stringer up to about here, and I'm actually going to put a layer of sanding resin on the board. So I'm actually going to have to get rid of this paint. I just think it's too rough. The board's actually too rough, and I should have done this before, but unfortunately I didn't. So it's a mistake I've made. So it's going to cost me quite a bit of time, but I figured, look, I've come this far. I want to do the best job I can. So I'm going to sand probably this paint off, resin right up probably to about here. I want to leave this tape on because it's not too rough down this end. And Elijah spent a lot of time on this, putting this tape on. He's probably spent an hour and a half doing that. So, and I'll probably flip the board over, and I'll do probably the same, I think, on this end as well, on the other side, and that should smooth the board out. Won't be as rough, and then we can do the painting, and it should be better. It just give a good texture to the board. So the sanding resin is the same resin that you use on a hot coat or a second coat on a board. It has the wax additive that when it dries, the resin dries, the wax floats to the top, and that enables you to be able to sand the resin. Preparing now for the final blue coat of paint, which we're going to do down here on the board and on the sides as well. Just got to take this tape off. So the tip of the day here is when you're taping, just to come in and just to make sure you bring the tape well inside this white area here, because the last thing you want to do when you've finished painting is pull the tape off, and then you have a little white line there. It's really difficult to get rid of.
This one turned out well.
So far, that's good. But there is definitely some touch-ups that need to be done. But that's all right, we can do that once this cures fully. And then once the touch-ups are done, we're going to do a clear coat, really good clear coat over the top to just solidify it. So the blue paint came up really well. We did get a little bit of peelage on the red, as you can see here on the top of the board, unfortunately. Thanks for watching our surfboard restoration video. I hope you enjoyed it. By all means, if you have any feedback at all, feel free to add it to the video. Yeah, if you're interested in looking at any of our other surfboard restoration and refurbishment videos, feel free to subscribe, and you can check all those out. Thanks, have a great day.